The WNBA is in full-on panic mode. And this time, it's not just because of an injury. It's because the fans are threatening to take matters into their own hands. After Sophie Cunningham's brutal injury, caused by what many are calling a targeted assault from Bria Hartley, fans aren't just upset. They're done being patient. They've seen the missed calls. They've watched the hits. They've heard the league silence. And now they want a lawsuit, not just against Bria Hartley, against the WNBA itself. If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe. Yes, you heard that right. Fans are now calling on Sophie Cunningham to sue the entire league for negligence. And the momentum behind this movement, it's growing by the hour. Because to them, Sophie's injury wasn't just an accident. It was a final straw in a pattern of unchecked violence, lazy officiating, and institutional indifference. The fact that it took this long for someone to say, hey, maybe players shouldn't have to risk career-ending injuries just to play a regular season game, is mind-blowing. Let's rewind the tape. Sophie Cunningham, one of the toughest, loudest, most hard-nosed players in the league, goes down after an off-ball collision with Bria Hartley, a player with a long and well-documented history of dirty fouls. We're talking elbows, shoves, late hits, and the kind of physicality that has nothing to do with basketball and everything to do with dominance and intimidation. But this time, it went too far. Sophie didn't just take a hit. She was flattened. And the result? Season-ending injury. Broken ribs. Torn cartilage. Out! And what do the refs do? Nothing. No flagrant. No ejection. No review. Just play on. The crowd? Booing. The broadcast? Confused. Twitter? On fire. And the league? Crickets. That silence is what lit the match. Because fans have been biting their tongues all season. They watched Caitlin Clark get hammered on drives with no calls. They watched Angel Reese get hacked under the basket like she was trying to escape a riot. They've seen players take elbow after elbow, and all they get is a polite handshake at center court and a let the girls play shrug. Well, guess what? The girls are playing. They're playing through broken bones, concussions, strained muscles, and now they're playing through a legal minefield because fans are done pretending that this is just part of the game. The WNBA has been leaning hard into this toughness narrative lately. The whole we're gritty, we're physical, we're not your little sister's basketball league. Cool. Love that for you. But at what cost? If toughness means letting players assault each other while the refs sip tea and scroll Instagram courtside, it's not a brand. It's a lawsuit waiting to happen. And Sophie Cunningham? She might just be the one to light that fuse. Let's be honest. If anyone was going to be the catalyst for this kind of legal action, it's Sophie. She's not a shrinking violet. She's not someone who's going to cry behind the scenes and let the league write her a check under the table to stay quiet. She's a competitor, a vocal one, and her silence right now, it's loud. Fans are interpreting that silence as calculation. She's watching, waiting, listening, and if she decides to take legal action, she won't be standing alone, because fans are already organizing. Petitions are being signed. Clips are being edited. Entire Reddit threads are dedicated to documenting every single dangerous hit in the WNBA this season. And let me tell you, the footage is damning. We're talking a full reel of missed calls, blatant hits, body checks, jersey pulls, and collisions that look more like NFL tackles than basketball defense. It's not just an issue with Bria Hartley. It's a league-wide pattern. And the refs? Oh, the refs are a whole separate saga. Some fans have started referring to WNBA refereeing as a performance art piece about confusion. There are jokes, actual jokes, about refs being paid in concession stand coupons. It's that bad. We've seen refs call a technical on a player for celebrating a three and then ignore an elbow to the throat on the next play. That inconsistency isn't just annoying. It's dangerous. It creates an environment where nobody knows what's allowed anymore. So some players start testing limits. And some players, like Bria Hartley, stop recognizing limits at all. So when Sophie got taken out and the refs just let the game go on like it was nothing, the message was loud and clear. We don't care. And now the fans are sending a message right back. Then we'll make you care. The lawsuit conversation isn't just about revenge. It's about forcing the league to act, because clearly kindness, patience, and reason haven't worked. What fans want is very simple. Better officiating. Not perfect, just baseline competent. Clear rules around flagrant and dangerous play. Not interpretive dance with whistles. Real suspensions for repeat offenders. Not a one-game slap on the wrist 3 days after a trending hashtag. League leadership that steps up when a player is hurt. Not leadership that hides behind vague statements. And we're looking into it, emails. And speaking of leadership, where's Commissioner Kathy Engelbert in all this? Why hasn't she addressed the Sophie Cunningham injury directly? Why hasn't there been a town hall, a public forum, even just a 60-second video message to fans saying, we hear you, we care, and we're going to fix it? Because right now, it feels like she's hiding behind media teams and PR walls while fans do the work she should be doing, sounding the alarm, demanding accountability, and pushing the league into a better future. It shouldn't take a player being hospitalized for the league to realize it has a problem. And it sure as hell shouldn't take a lawsuit to get that same league to admit they were wrong. But here we are. Now, let's not pretend Sophie filing a lawsuit would be easy. She'd be going up against the league she plays in, the bosses who cut her check, the brand that claims to empower her. There's risk, there's politics, there's backlash. But you know what else there is? Precedent. Because if Sophie does file and she wins, it changes everything. It means future players don't have to suffer in silence. It means refs and league execs know there are real consequences for their inaction. It means player safety becomes more than a buzzword in press kits. It becomes a legal standard. And that would be a legacy far bigger than any game. The ball is in the WNBA's court. They can act now, before Sophie makes her next move, or they can brace for a legal storm that could reshape the league from top to bottom. Fans are ready. They've seen enough. And for the first time in a long time, they're not just watching, they're demanding justice. And they're not going anywhere. And here's what no one in the league office wants to admit. The fans are organizing faster than the WNBA can respond. They're angry, yes, but more importantly, they're strategic. We're talking threads, timelines, archives of missed calls, flag plays, unpunished hits, clips of Sophie Cunningham taking body checks, side-by-sides of Bria Hartley's pattern of aggression. Clear as day, right there on video. They're building a case, not just for Sophie's injury, but for the entire culture of negligence that's been festering in the league. And honestly, it's airtight, because this isn't just about Bria Hartley anymore. It's about what's been allowed to happen. It's about how the WNBA has marketed toughness and passion, while quietly allowing violence to go unchecked. It's about how the league knows certain players have reputations for dangerous play, and does nothing until a camera catches it in 4K, and the fans start trending hashtags. What happens when the most passionate fan base in sports turns on the very league they build up? We're seeing it right now. You got fans writing open letters to Kathy Engelbert, CCing sport attorneys, former players, and journalists. You've got merch being made with slogans like "Protect Our Players" and "Not Just Part of the Game." You've got WNBA highlight reels being reframed, not as hype montages, but as evidence exhibits. And all the league can do? Tweet final score. Fever 78, Sun 74. The disconnect is brutal. Let's talk about that leadership vacuum again. Because the way Commissioner Engelbert and the league office are avoiding this storm isn't just cowardly, it's offensive. You built your brand around women who speak up. You built a culture on activism, on accountability, on empowerment. So when one of your own is injured brutally on national television, why are you suddenly silent? Where's the commissioner who stood at the WNBA draft and gave inspiring speeches about protecting the future of the game? Where's the accountability when that future is sitting on the bench, bruised and broken, because your referees can't be bothered to make a call? At this point, fans aren't just disappointed, they feel betrayed. And the biggest betrayal of all? The league is more afraid of admitting fault than it is of losing its audience. Because make no mistake, that's already happening. The viewership dip following Caitlin Clark's injury was already a red flag. Sophie Cunningham's absence? Another blow. But this legal threat, this mounting backlash, this fan-led push for justice, this is critical. If Sophie files that lawsuit, and let's be honest, she has every reason to, the headlines won't be WNBA player sues WNBA. They'll be WNBA refuses to protect its players. League negligence leads to lawsuit. Fans turn on WNBA leadership over safety scandal. That's the kind of press you don't recover from. And you can't spin it. You can't hide behind hashtags and highlight reels. You can't bury it in a Friday afternoon news dump. Once that lawsuit hits court, every missed call, every unpunished hit, every injury brushed aside by toughness culture becomes evidence. And here's the kicker. Players are starting to support the movement. Quietly, yes, but increasingly. Some have posts calling out the league. Others have made vague but very pointed statements about player safety. A few have even reshared fan-made graphics demanding justice for Sophie. It's not a coincidence. This is a reckoning. And while the league tries to pretend it's business as usual, the people who make up the soul of the WNBA, the players and the fans, are rising up because this is bigger than Sophie Cunningham. It's bigger than Bria Hartley. It's bigger than any one game. This is about whether the WNBA is truly what it claims to be, a progressive, player-first league built on empowerment and accountability, or if that's just branding. Because right now, it's looking like branding. Let's go one layer deeper. How is this being covered? Oh, that's right. It's barely being covered at all. Mainstream sports media has been strangely quiet. No headline on ESPN front page. No live panel discussion on FS1. No breaking news segment about the lawsuit fans are demanding, which only adds fuel to the fire, because the WNBA has always fought for visibility. For years, the media ignored the league, and now that it finally has the spotlight, they're letting dangerous plays happen in silence. That silence is complicit, and fans see it. And they're filling the void themselves. TikToks, podcasts, Twitter threads, calling live streams, articles, amateur investigations. It's digital activism on overdrive, and it's working. Every time a video of Bria Hartley's elbow goes viral, every time someone tags a league with a hashtag Sue the WNBA caption, every time a former player speaks up, momentum builds. And what happens when Sophie returns next season and says nothing's changed? What happens if another star player goes down with a preventable injury? What happens when the lawsuit is the only thing the league can't ignore? Because that's what's coming next. A day of reckoning. Either the WNBA cleans house now, or the fans, the players, and the legal system will do it for them. And you know what? That might be exactly what it takes. Because you can't say we protect our own while you let one of your most beloved players be body slammed mid-game without so much as a foul. You can't say this league is the future while letting your officials treat it like the Wild West. You can't preach sisterhood when Sophie Cunningham is out here suffering in silence, and Bria Hartley is still eligible to suit up. The people who built this league, players and fans, are demanding something better. Not next season. Not in some strategic marketing cycle. Now, fix the officiating. Suspend violent players. Fire incompetent refs. Create a real player safety board. And if the WNBA won't do it, Sophie Cunningham's lawsuit just might force their hand, because when the fans become the lawyers, the verdict's already written. And here's the truly wild part. This wasn't supposed to be the WNBA's problem. This was supposed to be the golden era, the year the league finally crossed over, sold out arenas, record jersey sales, national media attention, all eyes on Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Sophie Cunningham, the new blood bringing the fire, and the veterans standing tall beside them. This was the moment. But instead of seizing it, the WNBA is on the verge of fumbling the bag in a way so colossal, it might set the league back years. And it all spiraled because one player got hurt and no one stepped up. The injury to Sophie Cunningham should have been an inflection point, not a PR disaster. But it's become exactly that because of the league's refusal to accept responsibility. Let's not forget, this isn't just a bad look. It's a workplace failure. Sophie wasn't injured in a freak accident. She was injured in a preventable situation. She was blindsided, elbowed, and dropped on national television by a player with a reputation, and the systems in place to protect her completely failed. Not just the referees who missed the call, not just the coaches who didn't challenge it, but the entire league structure that allowed this environment to fester. When the fans demand a lawsuit, what they're really demanding is accountability for a systemic issue. They're asking the hard questions the league won't. Why does the WNBA allow repeat offenders like Bria Hartley to continue playing without stricter penalties? Why do refs miss obvious infractions game after game? Why is there no third-party review process for dangerous plays? Why does toughness in this league mean letting players get clobbered for the sake of TV drama? And most importantly, why do players have to risk their health to get the league's attention? This is the kind of mess that other leagues fix immediately. You don't see NFL or NBA officials waiting until fan petitions hit 50,000 signatures to take action. You don't see players filing lawsuits because a ref didn't feel like watching the ball. But in the WNBA, that's where we're at. And here's the real problem. The damage is already done. You can suspend Bria Hartley now. You can issue a statement. You can throw up a few social media posts with hashtag #ProtectOurPlayers and a cute caption. But you can't unbreak Sophie's ribs. You can't unsideline one of the most impactful players in Indiana's rotation. You can't unburn the trust that's been torched between the league and its most loyal fans. Because fans feel betrayed, and betrayal is a different beast than disappointment. Disappointment says, do better next time. Betrayal says, I don't trust you anymore. And once you lose trust, that's when fans stop showing up. That's when they stop watching. That's when they stop buying the jerseys. That's when they stop believing in you. And let's talk about the ripple effects, because Sophie's absence doesn't just impact the Indiana Fever. It affects the entire landscape of the league. Indiana now loses their enforcer, the energy player, the one who wasn't afraid to throw herself into every screen, every rotation, every scuffle. And now, that team is missing grit. That leaves Caitlin Clark even more isolated, the rookies even more vulnerable, and the games, that much more tense, because now every hard foul is going to be seen through the lens of what happened to Sophie. Players will hesitate. Tempers will rise. Fists might even fly, because if the league won't protect them, they'll start protecting themselves. And that's how you get an all-out war on the court. And don't think the other teams aren't paying attention. They're watching how the league responds, or doesn't, and adjusting accordingly. You think coaches aren't privately saying, be aggressive, be physical. They're not going to call it. You think players aren't quietly emboldened, seeing that one of the dirtiest hits of the season led to no immediate action? Because make no mistake, the Bria Hartley hit wasn't random. Players know how to send messages. They know how to rattle an opponent. They know when a hard foul turns into something more. And when they see that the league has no real consequences lined up, they push boundaries. Every time. It's basic sports psychology. If there's no fear of penalty, then chaos becomes a strategy. And chaos is what we're heading toward. Because here's the next stage in the slow-burning disaster, retaliation. You think Sophie's teammates are going to let that slide? You think players from other teams who love Sophie, who trained with her, came up with her, bonded with her, aren't going to make a statement of their own? There's a reckoning brewing, and it's going to explode the next time Bria Hartley steps on the court. And if the WNBA doesn't step in before that happens, they'll have more than just a lawsuit on their hands. They'll have a full-on crisis. Let's also acknowledge what this means for future players. The NCAA stars watching from the sidelines, the young women debating whether to go pro or take the overseas route. They're seeing all of this and thinking, wait, if I go to the WNBA, I can get bodied on national TV, miss the rest of the season, and the league won't say a word. Yeah, real encouraging. And as much as the league loves to talk about growth in future investments and expansion teams and new fan bases, none of that matters if the players don't feel safe. Because without the players, you don't have a product. You don't have growth. You don't have anything. That's why fans are demanding a lawsuit, not out of vengeance, but because they've seen enough to know that legal pressure might be the only thing left that the league can't ignore. It's not about getting even. It's about forcing reform. It's about creating a paper trail. About saying once and for all, that players have rights. And if the league won't enforce them internally, the courts will. And whether Sophie decides to file or not, the mere fact that fans are begging her, this should be a wake-up call. Think about that. Fans are so disillusioned with the system that they're now encouraging their favorite player to sue the organization they love just to make things better. That's how broken this has become. And if the WNBA still doesn't act, then they're making a choice. A choice to prioritize PR over player safety, silence over accountability, and branding over the very athletes who are the brand. At that point, a lawsuit won't just be deserved. It'll be inevitable. So the league has two options right now. They can do the bare minimum. Slap Bria with a late suspension. Offer vague comments about looking into our policies. Wait for the backlash to fade. Or they can face the fire. Own the mistake. Protect their players. Publicly commit to reforms. And beg Sophie Cunningham not to sue. Not for their sake, but for the sake of the league's future. Because the fans aren't bluffing. And neither is Sophie. And if the WNBA doesn't take this moment seriously, they're going to lose more than a player. They're going to lose the people who cared enough to fight for her.